Hey, what's going on, guys? I have another knife review for you today. And today we're looking at something a little bit more traditional. I do have plenty of modern day folders, which we're going to talk about in the near future, but I wanted a little throwback first. This is a Marlin's knife, okay? Very cool design, very distinctive design. I've had multiple Marlin's knives from, a variety of different companies. I actually used to have an original Schrade old-timer Marlin's knife. This is one of the new generations of Marlin's knives and probably one of my favorites. This thing is seriously beefed up, and although it is mainly a knife, the big feature here is the spike. Okay, and I am a huge fan of this particular spike over other ones for its just being so damn robust and extremely acute towards the tip, which we'll talk more about in a second. So basically, we have this piece here sticking out. This is called the bail, and for people who don't know, it's basically a metal lanyard. All right, a lot of people would have these types of knives who do boating, and the main purpose of the spike is to actually get knots out that are very tight, which I'll give you a little demo towards the end of the video here. But obviously dealing with ropes and knots and all that kind of stuff, you want a good blade on you as well. And because the boats are always rocking back and forth and very unstable and wet decks and everything else, these almost always have a sheep's foot blade on there. So there's no point. In fact, this sheep's foot blade almost hooks back in. Okay, there is definitely no way you're going to stab yourself on accident. Okay, that is very purposeful. It would be very easy, I would imagine, if you're on a moving boat, to have this thing swing around and poke you in the arm or something. Okay, so you could, of course, still get sliced, but you're not going to get stabbed or poked. Nor is it necessary for, the purpose of this type of knife. So, what I like about this one is it is kind of a traditional look still. You can see the old-timer shield on there. Our handle scales are I believe like a Delrin type plastic. Okay, they are synthetic. They are saw cut. Okay, so a very fine saw cut design here. All right, both scales match. Love the brass on here. Very nicely polished. There's a lot of brass on these bolsters. Very large bolsters, and of course the bail is brass as well. The blade is 2.8 inches. It is a 7 CR17 MOV, which is very soft steel. It came really sharp. I was actually surprised. Razor sharp edge out of the box, but it did not last very long. For my purposes, I actually didn't cut rope, which is what this is meant for. I cut a bunch of cardboard. But about a 5 to 10 minute session of cardboard cutting, and it needed a touch up. Wasn't completely dull, but it definitely lost that edge. So the 7 CR17 MOV is definitely on the soft side. Okay, so if you're going to get a knife like this and use it, you're going to want to keep it maintained and make sure you keep it sharpened. Close length is 4.1 inches, and it is 4.4 ounces. Okay, again, that brass is going to give it a little bit of heft here. The price on these are about 20 to 25 bucks, which I think is awesome for a quality Marlin's knife like this. All right, so let's take a look at that spike. This is basically the main feature of this knife. This is a locking spike. Okay, you can hear that lock. It will not move on you. I really like this function. Not all Marlin's knives have a locking spike. Obviously, if you're being very aggressive and trying to get a knot out or something, or if you're using this to stab, because believe me, this spike would be an excellent self-defense weapon. If you really needed to use this thing, this would be very devastating used against an attacker. But yeah, if you had to stab or use this very aggressively, it will not close on you. It is actually locking, which is very cool. And if you notice on the bail, it says press down. That is what you're going to do to release this lock. And it works just like a lockback. Basically, there's a little notch cut out in the back of the tang there, and then a piece that fits into it. And then when you push this down, it feels like a little spring tension there. You're removing that so you can close it. So it locks open, and that releases it. All right, extremely sturdy. Now you can see this is a very fat, robust spike here. Okay, very traditional design, a little bit of a curvature in it. What's not traditional is how pointy this thing is. This is like an ice pick. I've never seen one that came to such a fine point. Now this is good and bad. The only thing that's bad about it is that if you're trying to take a knot out of cordage that you don't want ruined, you do have to be a little bit more careful, because that point, you do have the possibility of hooking some of the threads inside the line, and then obviously destroying or damaging the line. But What's nice about that, the positive part of it, is that you do have an extremely fine point to get into the tightest little crevices, okay? So if you're careful using this, it is definitely more versatile than most other spikes because it's pointier. But in like an untrained hand, if you're not used to using it, you could destroy or damage your cord, which I'll give you an example in a second. So here's a piece of paracord. I basically just do a quick little knot here. All right, now I'll pull this really, really tight. Okay, now normally it would take me quite a bit to kind of use my fingernails and try to pry this open. The purpose of this spike is to get in here, okay? And as you're pushing forward, you can see it gradually gets thicker and thicker, which is going to spread out. And I'm doing kind of a twisting motion here. This is going to spread out your cord, okay, which loosens it, makes it easier to take apart. See how I created a gap in there? All right, just by pushing and spinning or twisting, and they made it loose enough where I can easily pull that apart. If you had to do it by hand, it would take you a lot longer. You know, you could break a fingernail or something, or crack a fingernail. It's just inconvenient. That is the whole purpose behind this. Although this does have many different uses, it literally could be an ice pick if you need to break up a chunk of ice at a party or something. You know, sky's the limit on this. But its main function is that. It is to, you know, get into very, very tight knots that normally you wouldn't be able to get by hand. Now, the smaller the cord, obviously the harder it is to get a real tight knot out of there. Now, what I was saying before is if you're not careful, first of all, if you're not careful, you can stab yourself very severely. Like if I was pushing like this, see how my thumb's on the other side? You know, you have to use some common sense here. If I push really hard and this thing slipped, this thing will go probably through my thumb completely. Okay, so please, you know, use this with some caution in mind, okay? But yeah, if I basically push this through the knot and I wasn't paying attention to go in between the cord and I went towards, you know, one piece of it, you could basically pull strands out. See how that's tearing and ripping? Okay, you wouldn't want that. That is actually damaging your cord. So if you want to reuse this, just be extra careful because this is extra pointy. So yeah, this is just a really, really cool knife design. It's very old school. Although it's completely not intended to be used as a weapon, inherently it is a very, very effective self-defense weapon. What I do like about it is it's kind of an inconspicuous package. You know, it's in an old school folding knife design. If you were to be questioned about this, you can simply say you work on a boat, blah, 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 and it's very useful, and you know, it's kind of a good excuse to have something like this. If you did not have the knife attached and you literally just had an ice pick in your pocket, it would just be considered a weapon. You're not going to say that you're walking around just in case you happen to run into a big block of ice, you can take care of it. But in this configuration, it's a little bit more explainable. But yeah, if you do literally have a boat, work on a boat, do anything with lots of lines and cordage and stuff, very, very handy knife combo to have. It's very cool. It's a very traditional design. And Shrey did a really good job at basically bringing it back and making it even more robust and even pointier. So I applaud them for that. So that's it. It's an affordable knife. It's a cool design. And if you're into the slip joints, this is a non-locking blade. I don't know if I mentioned that before. As far as people overseas, you know, it is a non-locking blade, but the fact that this spike locks, if an officer or, you know, policeman, whatever you happen to have around you, happens to question you about this knife and you say, yeah, the blade isn't locked, and they open this thing and find that it's locked open, you'll probably be in trouble. So even though it is a slip joint, technically, I would not recommend this for people who cannot have locking folders. I just foresee that being a problem in some areas around the world. It's a very cool design. I should give you a little demo since I happen to have some cordage here. See, the blade's nice and sharp. But it's just an old school design that was brought back and done well. So I really like it. So I think you guys would like it too. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.